It's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Yo, I wanted to talk about this topic about Ron Holland and Isaiah Stewart. And I wanted to talk about it because, you know, I see NBA Piston Twitter is turning a corner. There's been a whole lot of talk throughout the season, early off season, whole bunch of chatter and banter from a bunch of cats who sometimes I'll be questioning, man, like, did y'all ever play basketball? Like, did y'all ever hoop? Like hoop, like not like you was on a rec team, but did you actually hoop? Because sometimes some of the things that people be saying, I'll be like, bro, don't you understand what this game is? And this is one of those topics. You know, there are the things that are aesthetically appealing, and then there's the things that just get the job done, that allows you to win games, that allows your team to beat the hell out of the other team. And some of those things, some of those parts of basketball, like if you haven't played, you really don't understand how important it is. Like having a dude that nobody wants any part of. Just having that guy on the court, it changes the whole landscape of the game. Cause that dude is gonna be able to do things and get away with things that your average teammate is not gonna be able to. Having somebody like Isaiah Stewart, having somebody like Ron Holland, those are two dudes who changed the complexion of the game. And the more I think about how important they are going to be for this team, the more I recognize those are probably the two most important bench role players for the Pistons. Those are two individuals that I completely foresee being able to come into games and completely changing the complexion of the game. And that's rare. There's guys who come in and will make an impact off the bench. There's guys who will come in who can get a bucket, right? Score. Maybe they're a good hustle guy. Maybe they come in and shoot threes, provide some spacing. And then there's guys who just change the freaking game. Like things were smooth, things were fluid. And this dude comes in almost like a Steven Adams, right? Steven Adams comes in the game, the complexion of the game changes, right? Those screens being set, they just ain't regular screens no more. You know what I mean? Like when he goes in for the rebound, you just kind of move out the way and it's like, you got it, big man. You got it. You know what I mean? It's all right. I'm gonna get on back down the court. Like there's certain guys when they're on the court, you just move differently around them. It's the level of physicality, but it ain't even like they tripping. It's just like that's just who they are. They just big as hell, and then they're physical, and they know how to use their size. It's just something I've actually talked about Jalen Duren needing to figure out, like how to use his size. Like he's big, but he doesn't always play big, right? Like his screens don't feel like Brooke Lopez and Steven Adams, shoot, even Isaiah Stewart. You know what I mean? Like he's big, he should have that type of weight. He should be able to set them type of screens, but he just doesn't yet. He's just, he's light on his feet, nimble, trying to just set, move, just 21-year-old shit. You know what I mean? Um, but when Isaiah Stewart comes in the game, man, it's just funny. It's just like dudes are trying to avoid him. You know what I mean? It was almost like when Ron Artest was in it. Like back in the day, back in the 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of these guys, right? Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, right? Shaq was still around. Um, you just had guys who just played big. Even like guys like Brad Miller, right? We're just big. PJ Brown, Alonzo Mourning. I'm just throwing out names, right? Guys who Daryl Dawkins or if I want to go bad boy Pistons, Bill Laimbeer. Like they had a few dudes who when they were on the court, you just kind of move differently around them. And how that plays out in the playoffs. And this is kind of where I was kind of like funneling all this towards. When the playoffs start, when things get real physical, you got two dudes who will set the tone for physicality. You got two guys who will come off your bench and they're going to change the complexion of a playoff game. Now, this is rare, right? Because there's some guys who are good defenders. Like Aaron Wiggins is a great defender, right? But it doesn't necessarily change the complexion of the game. Alex Caruso plays really good defense, great defense. I don't know if he changes the complexion of the game. I don't know if guys are probably looking at him like, damn it, I hate this dude on me. You know what I mean? Like Dyson Daniels. But it's the physicality part. It's the physicality part. No one is really checking for Christian Brown and Alex Caruso, right? They're not looking over their shoulders, looking behind them. This dude might throw a little elbow. This dude is gonna outrun me. This dude is gonna jump over me. This dude is gonna out athlete me. He's gonna out physical me. He's gonna make this thing more difficult than I want it to be. And that is an aspect of basketball that there's no stat for. There is no statistic for, right? How many times does this dude just bump into you every game? You know what I mean? It's like almost how they started counting deflections. It's like, how many times does somebody just bump me? And I'm just like, bro, man, you constantly bumping me for no reason, bro. And now I'm focused on you instead of the actual game. By the time that we get to the playoffs next year, I'm foreseeing Ron Holland and Isaiah Stewart as our first two players off the bench. I'm seeing Ron Holland and Isaiah Stewart and their combination of offensive skill, defensive intensity, their motor, physicality, athleticism, those two are going to be game changers for us. Those two are going to have the propensity for coming into the game and giving us that boost, that acceleration of Detroit basketball energy that's going to feed everyone else on this team. If you ever notice, like when Asar Thompson was in the lineup and Cade Cunningham was next to him, Cade's defense went up, right? It wasn't just his intensity, it wasn't just his skill and talent and nose for the ball and attention to detail and preparation, all those different things, but it was the way he played it. It was almost disrespectful. Like Asar Thompson's defense sometimes just outright disrespectful. For you to be in a playoff matchup with a Jalen Brunson, and then you just put your hands behind your back, say, I'm gonna lock you up without using my arms, so you can't try to use one of my arms to try to like bait the ref into a foul. And I'm still gonna lock you up. I'm still gonna block your shot. Right? Like that's a level of like, I give no fucks. You know what I mean? Like you just ain't tripping on anybody. Now imagine when you bring in 6'8" with a 6'11" wingspan, a high motor athlete like Ron Holland and Isaiah Stewart. Now you've got all this length, athleticism all around you. Imagine how that's going to amplify the team defense. It's one of those things I try to explain to people when we talk about the playoffs. One of the most essential parts of an offense is the ability to get out in transition and generate easy baskets, especially in the playoffs, especially when the game is most intense, especially when the other team is probably playing just as good of defense as you. Your ability to turn turnovers and rebounds into transition baskets, made baskets, is many times the difference in games. It's the difference between being up 2 and being up 6 or 8 or 10. It's the difference between being down 5 and tied. It's the difference between down by 1, up by 3 with 2 minutes to go. Right? How many times did we see Asar Thompson at the end of games get a critical steal with a minute and a half, which is what I was like begging JB Bickerstaff. It's like, yo, you have to close with Ron Holland. I'm sorry, with Asar Thompson, because Asar Thompson, he would make these plays, whether it was ripping somebody at half court, whether it was getting a deflection, getting out into a passing lane, and all of a sudden he's got a breakaway dunk that now extended a 1-point lead to a 3-point lead, 3 into a 5, 1 possession game into a 2 possession game. Right? It gets us back into 2, 3 steals generated in a row, whether it was the deflection or he gets the actual possession of the ball or he gets an offensive rebound. He makes these defensive plays with his energy and athleticism that a lot of guys just can't make. And you can never necessarily quantify those points because it's hard when you're doing data analytics to be able to say, like, oh, this is what we can anticipate happening and guarantee it's going to happen. But it just happens. When you add Ron Holland to that type of defense with the SAR, with Cade, Ivy using his athleticism on the defensive end, which I keep saying, you guys have to understand how elite our defense is going to potentially be next year with Ivy at the point of attack and then Cade and Asar. That perimeter defense is going to be bananas, bro. It's going to be crazy. But then you add Ron Holland. By the end of the season, I fully expect Ron Holland to be at least an average, efficient three-point shooter. Right? He's going to be around 34, 35% by the end of the season. I'm betting by the time April rolls around, we're not worried about his three-point shot. By the end of this past season, I wasn't worried about his three-point shot. And I said his role is going to remain the same: energy guy, effort, motor, defense, rebounds, getting out in transition. The only difference is he's going to have far more minutes. He's going to go from anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes in a game to maybe 15 plus minutes each game. Now, I know we just brought back Tim Hardaway Jr. I think that's more for depth. And I am really curious how they play Ron Holland. I wouldn't be shocked if he comes in a little bit bigger than he was last season, somewhere around 225 pounds, maybe even 230 pounds. I think he's going to carry the weight well and play a little bit more physical, especially in those limited minutes. Expect him to also slide between that 3 and 4 position, especially with Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson, and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Marcus Sasser. And so those kind of guard shooting spaces are kind of filled up. But I more than expect Ron Holland to have consistent minutes. And what I expect is that he's going to be flying all around the court. By the time the playoffs come, when you pair him and Asar Thompson at those forward positions on the wing, plus Cade Cunningham and his 6'7", 6'8", 7-foot wingspan, good anticipation, and then Ivy, it is going to have the type of on-off numbers that I think we're going to see by the end of the season, really probably by the second half of the season. We're going to see that Ron Holland in certain lineups is going to look crazy good. It's going to look amazing. It's going to look amazing. It's going to look like, honestly, we signed with Denver. I saw that we re-signed him. Was it a sign and trade? What's his name? Threw me off. Pistons Jack threw me off on his live. Y'all let me know in the comment section. Let me see. Let me look it up real quick. I might be tripping. Appreciate y'all looking out for it, brother. Been out and about today. Let me see. Let me see. Tim Hardaway Jr. News. Okay. Oh, we got a deal. We did a deal. Let me see. Was it a sign and trade? Or did they just sign? Campaign. Did they just sign him? Y'all let me know. Either way, I don't think that changes much. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. would have been third string guard off the bench. He's not better than Duncan Robinson. He's not better than Ron or anyone else. But all that's to say, Tim just straight up signed with Denver. Okay, that's what's up. Happy for him. By the time the playoffs come, I think that's going to be probably our death lineup. Our death lineup: Ivy, Cade, Asar, Ron Holland instead of Tobias Harris, and then Duran or Isaiah Stewart, whoever's kind of rocking better. But I think that lineup bro, is gonna be outright scary. I keep telling y'all, like, there's not another team in the NBA who has that level of positional size and athleticism to run with the Detroit Pistons. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to. I told y'all last season. I know if y'all been following my channel, you know I told y'all last season. I said expect our offensive efficiency to take a boost because of our ability to generate turnovers when we have Asar Thompson in the lineup, and because we can get out in transition and score easily in transition with that athleticism, it's going to help even out our offensive efficiency. And so it's not going to look quite as bad. So even though we needed to shoot and make more threes, we were going to get a good amount of our offense coming out of transition because we have so much better defense. Now, I didn't anticipate Jay Ivey getting hurt, but when you combine the two, when you combine the increase in defensive efficiency, an ability to guard the perimeter, generate turnovers, get out in transition and get easy buckets, with also a high level 3-point shooter who's also amazing in transition in Jaden Ivey, what we're going to, I think, see is this is going to be a team that has the ability to blow teams out. And it's going to be one of those lineups where in spurts, they're going to have the ability to have this offensive explosion that's not necessarily going to be generated by threes as much as it was last year, as much. And I do think that's going to be a component. I'm not saying Doug Robinson is going to have a Malik Beasley type year. What I am saying is that the combination of the explosive offensive potential from our defense is going to be able to push our leads or bring us back or put teams away in ways that we haven't quite seen yet. Many times last season, there were moments where our defensive intensity on the perimeter, especially when you had like Dennis Schroeder, Cade, and Asar, there was more than a few games I saw in the last 2 minutes, they would just amp up the intensity and they would guard full court and they would generate like 4 to 6 points in a matter of like a minute. They would just turn them over, would just pressure them up the court, 8-second backcourt violation, or they would get a quick deflection, turnover. They would press the team, bad shot, get back in transition, offensive rebound, like stuff like that. And it would happen really fast. I think that becomes a staple of the Detroit Pistons. With Ron Holland getting more minutes, I think what we end up seeing is that that becomes what we expect of this roster. I think we begin to expect that the Detroit Pistons begin to have that offensive and defensive explosiveness that teams just don't really have an answer for. I think a good example of it is like OKC. Oklahoma City had the ability to have an explosive quarter and an explosive stretch that many times was initiated by the defense. And they also had the ability to be explosive offensively. But the dope part about it was they could rely more on the defense being explosive, especially throughout the playoffs, even if the offense was struggling. Right? Even if J Dub was struggling with the shot or couldn't find his rhythm, let's say SGA was kind of getting bogged down, they could rely on Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, LeGuins Dort, those guys changing the complexion of the game with Chet Holmgren in the middle. And all of a sudden, they're getting 2, 3 steals in a row, and then they go on a 10 to 12 point run in the playoffs, in the finals. That's how they were putting teams away on the defensive end. That's going to be a staple for us. That's going to be a staple for us. With Isaiah Stewart coming in and then Ron Holland coming in, we're going to be able to press teams. And I mean, get in that ass. And they're going to end up having to have to figure it out. And that's really what you want as an NBA team. You want the rest of the league trying to figure you out, not you trying to figure everyone else out. You want to be in the position where you could just look at your guys as a coach and say, look, if we do what we're supposed to do, if we play our brand of basketball, we're beating anybody. especially in a series. Especially in a series. Right now, I have the Detroit Pistons. I want to say finishing third. Let me check my list real quick. Let's see. Got to respond to Shorty real quick. See. All right, let me get to my list. Yep. I got the Cavs and the Knicks finishing at the top of the East next season. And then the Pistons finishing third. And it's funny because I know. Hey, y'all can call me on it. If you want, you call me on it. Oh, what's good, Stefan? Is it Stefan, Stefan, Steven? How do you pronounce it? I always try to get names right because I always respect people's name. But I see a comment here. I want to see Ron at 4 alongside Asar. Yep, a little more before I can believe in that. You know what? I don't think Asar is going to be at the 4. I'm sorry. I don't think Ron's going to be at the 4. I think Asar is going to be at the 4. I think Ron will probably be at the 2 or 3, and Cade will be guarding. And this is what I'm talking about defensively. Ron will be guarding the 2 or the shooting guard. Cade will guard the small forward because Cade isn't as athletic as Ron and Ivy, and I think those guys are better left to guarding those quick twitch, athletic, jumpy type of backcourt players. Um, but I expect for them to be able to switch 1 through 4. Like in that type of a lineup, fully expect them to switch 1 through 4. And if Isaiah Stewart is at center, they might switch almost. I'm not gonna say entirely 1 through 5, but I would say from Ron through Isaiah Stewart, 2 through 5, yes, they're gonna switch everything. They're gonna switch everything because they have enough length and athleticism to cover. Between Ron at 6'8", Cade at 6'7", 6'8", Asar at 6'7", 6'8", who looks like he's 6'9", um, and then Isaiah Stewart at 6'9". They all have a long wingspan. They're all extremely active defenders, physical defenders. They switch that all the way through. 2 through 5, 5 through 2. All to say is, I know I said last season, or not last season, but throughout this offseason, I expect the Pistons to be somewhere around 44 to 46 wins. 44 to 46 wins. And I know it's kind of hard to fathom that landing them third in the East. I think how it's going to play out, and they may get more than that. They may get north of that. Let's say they get maybe potentially up to 50 wins. That's everything goes good. No injuries, knock on wood, or no significant injuries, knock on wood, right? Um, but I foresee third in the East because I'm really looking at the rest. Are they better than Boston next season? Yes. I'm looking at Boston's roster right now. I don't think they're more talented. And now that they got a taste of the playoffs and that's success, even though they didn't get out the first round, they still elevated their game and know that they can play with an Eastern Conference Finals team. And they should fully believe if they had Ivy and Stewart. Ivy or Stewart, they were probably beating the Knicks. So that's how talented they are. And that's with no playoff experience. Now, I think Asar Thompson goes into next season getting the benefit of the doubt from the whistle on the defensive end. Right? Him and his brother have established themselves as outright elite defenders. And I think we all know the more established you are as a defender, the more referees are going to give you that benefit of the doubt. You can no longer foul bait them. You can no longer foul bait them. Right? Jalen Brunson is not going to be able to go into a series and be like, all right, I'm just going to flop with the Asar Thompson. No, you're going to have to deal with the Asar Thompson. But here's the thing. You're going to have to deal with the Asar Thompson after you've dealt with Ivy, dealt with Cade, dealt with Ron Holland, right? Like, you're just going to be praying for one of the bench guys coming, like maybe Karis LeVert will come in. Maybe Marcus Ashe will come in and you can finally eat. Because that's, if you notice, that's really how they played them in the playoffs. As soon as Asar would come out the game, They went straight to Brunson. Soon as Malik Beasley came in the game or Tim Hardaway Jr. was on Jalen Brunson went right to work. And he would score back to back to back. Because those guys were fooled defensively. But now you switch those two out. And now you've got 6'5", athletic, 6'9" wingspan, and physical Jaden Ivey. And now you got more Ron Holland minutes. And if he can establish himself as a defensive presence throughout the season and get the benefit of the doubt whistle in the playoffs, how much more significant is that going to be? And that's still before you get to Asar Thompson. Because once Asar gets on, you might as well just pass that damn ball. He's just one of those shutdown guys. Like, look, why even make this hard? Why? It makes no sense in terms of our team's efficiency. Me trying to go at Asar Thompson. He's playing into their hands. All right. That's who he has become. He's established himself there. Like he's that dude. He's the Dyson Daniels. He's the Alex Caruso. He's the Amen Thompson. He's the, Ron Artest back in the day, Andre Iguodala or Tony Allen. It's just not beneficial to your team's offense for you to go at those guys. If you're smart, you just swing it. But imagine when we have a whole lineup of those guys anchored by Asar Thompson. Oh, yeah. Asar defensive team coming for sure. For sure. Like first team all defense. And it's going to be interesting to see how that gets reshuffled. Like just get to the 65 games played. That's it. And if I'm honest, hey, start forecasting this. Teams are going to really play into that 65 game mark. That's going to be the new benchmark. Get your starters past 65 games. And you're really not looking for them to play too many more than that. You want your starters to play. What's good, D-Dub? Salute, brother. It's good to see you, man. It's man. I'm trying to think who gets moved out. But I think the people who get moved out immediately are guys who aren't even starters. Like Alex Caruso gets bumped down to second team. But even then, you look at guys who are potentially first team. Like you got, like I said, like Dyson Daniels. You got Davion Mitchell is a really good defender. Let me see. You got Dort. You got Herb Jones. And you got the Thompson twins. And you still got AD. I mean, you got some good defenders. Giannis. Right. It's gonna be right there. Mitchell Robinson, if he starts, could be a devastating. Evan Mobley. So you're gonna have really good defenders, but I'm trying to think what is my forecast for first team all defense right now? And right now, I think I would have to put Amen and Asar Thompson right there. And you got Evan Mobley, maybe Anthony Davis, and then figuring out another guard, whoever you want to throw in there. Derek White, maybe. Right. But I don't see them falling out of first team all. I can't think of another defender who has that level of talent on the defensive end. Because even Alex Caruso's 6'5", in shoes and a thick sole pair of Nikes, maybe 6'6". That's a far cry from 6'8", 6'9", Asar Thompson, 6'7", 6'8", Amen Thompson, who also have a 40-inch vertical. Sorry, Asar has a 39. Amen has a 41. What are we talking about? And a 7-foot wingspan. All right, 7-foot plus wingspan. All right. Like I just don't see who knocks them out. Who do y'all think is if you had to forecast today, first team all defense, what would it look like? Let me know in the comment section. Because I'm trying to look through these different teams. I just don't see maybe Franz Wagner. Maybe he could push for that first team all defense if he's, 65 games. Maybe Scotty Barnes. If he plays 65 games, I could see that. I could see that. OG Anunoby, he's definitely got some clamps, but he doesn't do as well against certain types of players. Um, you got Evan Mobley, and I'm just thinking about the East. I'm not even thinking about the West yet. But then you also got guys like who are going to be up and coming, like Alex Sarr, right? And I mentioned Dyson Daniels before, right? You got guys like Bilal Coulibaly, Keontae George over there in Washington. I think those three are going to be marching up the rankings defensively. But I think what sets the Pistons apart is this guy, and Asar Thompson is only, what, 21, 22 years old? Nothing but young legs, everything to prove to himself. So I don't think he really gives a damn about anybody else, right? Like it's like there are some dudes who come in the league where irrational confidence for them is just like it's a Tuesday. It's just I'm confident. I don't even think of it as confidence. I'm just me, right? Like I remember I heard this quote when Damian Lillard was drafted, and they said, um, Dame is one of my all-time favorite players. He was like, coming out of Oakland, right? He used to wear the number 0, stand for the O for Oakland. Um, he came into the league, and they was like, "Hey, how do you think you're gonna do? Taking what you were able to do in college to the NBA?" And he said, "Well," and it's a real quote. You can look it up. He was like, "I think it's gonna be easier because I'll only have one defender on me instead of three. So instead of having to beat 2 to 3 guys every single time and them going boxing one on me, uh, I'll just have one defender. So it's going to be a whole lot easier." I said the mentality of a player to come in with that, to say that clearly, matter of factly, speaks to where they are and distinguishing them from everyone else. And I think it showed throughout Dame's entire career. Because you saw, I think it was his rookie year or his sophomore year in the playoffs against the Houston Rockets, right? Hits his first playoff game winner. That was with LaMarcus Aldridge on the squad. He was like, "Nah, I got it." Step back three on Chandler Parsons, or was it? Yeah, I think it was Chandler Parsons. It was either Chandler Parsons or it was what's his name? The Asian dude, Lynn Sanity. Um, what was his name again? Something Lynn. I can't believe I forgot his name, and he's from the Bay too. I'm tripping, but it's been a minute. But Lynn Sanity, Jeremy Lin, Jeremy Lin. Thank you, Steph. But uh, yeah, man. What do you think? What's your first team, second team, all defensive? If you had to make one right now, first team, second team, all defensive team, what would it be forecasted for the 25-26 season? If you had to put $20 on it right now, who would it be? I think I'm somewhere around Giannis. Hmm. Probably say Giannis, AD, Amen and Asar Thompson, and maybe Dyson Daniels. Am I missing somebody? I would say those are probably the top 5 defensive starting players. And I distinguish starting versus coming off the bench because to be a great defender and you have to check the other team's best player from the beginning of a game is a whole lot different than coming off the bench and trying to sustain, right, that defensive effort and energy. It doesn't take away from your defensive talent and skill. And defense is not just effort, it is talent and skill. Listen to guys like Tony Allen, Iguodala, right? Listen to their mentality. Listen to the technique and the skill, dropping your hips, making yourself thin, staying low while keeping a hand up, understanding when you close off uh, uh, a drive, how to be able to dictate where the offensive player goes, understanding the scouting report and where your help is, Like there's so much skill and intelligence and effort and focus that it takes to be a good defender. And then natural physical abilities, athleticism, length, those different things that add into it, right? Tayshaun Prince was able to become an elite defender because he had all those things plus the physical intangibles. He was 6'9" with a 7'2" wingspan, right? Um, and he could use that length to be able to bother guys, even though he wasn't as physically imposing, right? Which was for the Pistons, unfortunately, they didn't have an answer for LeBron because, well, that's the guy who had to guard him, and LeBron's got 50 pounds on him. All that's to say is what it takes to become a great defender, you got to be able to show that for a full game. Not only do you make the plays when you need to make the plays at the end of games and throughout the course of the game, but you also show that you can do this from start to finish. You change the complexion of the game when you're on the court from the defensive end. Draymond Green is a great defender as well. I'm not going to take nothing away from him, but I think he's far more of a he's far more of a help defender than he is on ball. Though he does a great job on the ball against bigs, especially undersized bigs like Demonis Sabonis, um, guys who need to face up. Right, like it's the reason why Draymond Green could never do anything with Anthony Davis is because, well, he could just turn his back to him and back him down and just shoot a jump hook over him. Like when you have people don't understand how valuable that aspect of an offensive game is. If you can hit a jump hook is probably one of the all-time lost arts for a lot of these post guys, which is why I like Duran and say that he has so much more to offer because he's got that in the bag and a face up, right? So he has a lot that he can go to offensively. But it's to say that against guys like Alperen Şengün, Domantas Sabonis, he does really well because he can use his leverage and his low center of gravity to be able to keep those guys from being able to back him down. But somebody like Anthony Davis, who also has length and size and height, if Draymond gets low to use leverage, AD just shoots over the top of him. So Draymond is more of a situational defender, though he's good in a lot of situations, just not across the board. Asar Thompson, he's great in every situation. He's got a low center of gravity. He got extremely fast twitch lateral mobility, which is like rare, like scary, scary. Like laterally, he moves like Casey Wallace and LeGuin Dort, maybe even better. But he's 6'8". You know what I mean? Like he's big. And he's got about 225 pounds. Right? I fully expect Asar Thompson to come into next season bigger. Even though when I seen him in person, he still looked kind of slight, but you never know how somebody adds the weight. I don't think he's rushing to add weight. I think over time he ends around 230 pounds. That's probably going to be, especially going into the playoffs. I think for now he can still get away with being 220, 222, 23 pounds. But he plays physical. He plays big. Like there were times where he would be in the dunker spot against the Knicks with Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns, and he more than held his own. Right? He could get his shot off and get an offensive rebound on his own shot with those trees around him. He plays big and he moves like a small. That's why I think he's such an enigma. And even getting back to the topic at hand, when we add Asar Thompson with him, Isaiah Stewart, it's just like, what do you do? What do you do? Like I can't look at a single roster and be like, oh, you've got answers for that. Closest probably like maybe Dallas if they go with like PJ Washington and Anthony Davis and let's say Daniel Gafford. But I don't think PJ has some good physicality and so does AD. I don't know if Gafford does. He plays physical, but none of those guys really have weight. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. Holla back at Shorty real quick. Hold on. What you thinking? Sorry, y'all. It's the weekend. It's the weekend. You feel me? Um, but nah, it's like I think this is gonna be a fantastic season. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think that this is a year that the Detroit Pistons really set themselves apart from the rest of the league, fully establishing themselves as one of the better defensive teams in the league. I think that they're going to have the ability to have a Oklahoma City Thunder level of defense. I don't know if their offense is there yet. Josh Austin, what's up, man? What's good, man? Appreciate y'all. Um, but I think that they set themselves apart. I think the offense will take more time adjusting to Jaden Ivey and Duran because I think those guys and Asar Thompson are still figuring out how good they are and figuring out how to play their full offensive game, which is what I've been saying. That's going to be JB Bickerstaff's like challenge. Let me see. Excuse my hot take with Doug. What's up, man? What you think Ivy going to do next season and Duran? Considering that they haven't got an extension done, there's still a chance that they get it done. It's also less and less likely. All right, it means that they're further apart on the number. They're probably playing hardball because they're looking at other guys. You're looking at guys like Josh Giddey, right? Chicago's playing hardball with them, especially with this whole second apron. Like teams are very hesitant to overpay guys who haven't proven that they're going to be worth it because it's going to impact how you build out the rest of the roster. Ivy and Duran have the ability, best case scenario for them, if they take a leap next year. And a leap for Jaden Ivey is essentially building on what he did last year in the first half of the season, where he's averaging 20 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, maybe close to 2 steals on really high efficiency. If that's how Jaden Ivey ends next season, really efficient, taking 5 to 6 threes a game, close to 40% from three, averaging over 20 points a game, and still doing the whole takeover thing, clutch buckets, and point of attack defender. That's a $30+ million player. That is a $30+ million player. Remember, I kept telling y'all, I said, let's extend them as soon as humanly possible. And considering you still have a salary cap that's escalating. And I know it's weird because, you guys throw out stuff like, yo, the cap. No, not even the cap situation. How many, what the viewership is like in the playoffs, right? Viewership is down and stuff like that. And, uh, you guys have all these reasons why players won't get signed for what they're really worth. And I get the angle that you're coming from, but you don't understand. When Michelle Roberts was heading the NBA Players Association, because she was a lawyer, right? Knows how to find the numbers, which I always wonder why would you not have lawyers lead? I don't know, because it's their job to read contracts, to find print, and understand the numbers, and they have a whole team to do it. But you're a player, you play basketball. Your expertise is basketball. But you're going in there, like it's one thing. I want basketball players to talk about what they want changed within the scope of the game. But when it comes to the numbers and the contracts, you better have a lawyer. You do basketball. They do law and contracts. All that's to say is when you're looking at the elevating salary cap, what Michelle Roberts discovered was these owners were making so much more money than they were reporting. They basically had to say, look, we can either give it all back in a lump sum or we'll scale it back. But we got to take a big jump to get us on track for how much you guys are truly making. They said, okay, we'll just scale it. What that set in motion is is an ongoing elevation of the cap every single year. Not just because of the recent television deals, but because of what they were making way back then. So every year it's going to keep going up for the foreseeable future, for a while. That's how much money these teams are making. Billions every year. Billions, especially with the revenue sharing. So when you look at teams talking about salaries and all that stuff, it's BS, bro. You making 3 to 4 times what you're paying the entire team. Crazy. Crazy. All that's to say is we look at a salary, even with the second apron, Jaden Ivey is worth, if he just builds on what he did last year, He's worth 30 plus million. And then when you have someone like Jalen Duren, if he does what he did in the playoffs for a full season, I'm talking about looking like a monster on the boards and a burgeoning, growing, evolving offensive game that's very versatile. Right? He almost kind of has the type of trajectory that you kind of saw with Evan Mobley, where it's like you kept looking at him and being like, man, I know there's more to your game and you keep showing me flashes, right? Really good shooting form. You're knocking down your free throws. I see your post game every once in a while. I just don't see it consistently enough. But if you put it all together and you keep waiting for him to put it all together, waiting and waiting, and I know JB Bickerstaff got blamed for not unlocking. Sometimes it just takes time, y'all. There's so many things that they're trying to figure out and work on. It takes big men longer to figure it out. Okay. But when they do, as Jalen Duren started to show you that he was figuring out in the playoffs, when they do, it's nasty, bro. I keep telling y'all he's a top 10 center. I keep telling y'all. He's better than Zubac, better than Şengün. He's better than Miles Turner, better than Mitchell Robinson, better than the Brook Lopez, better than Wendell Carter. Uh, he's a 30 plus $1 million player. Period. So if the Pistons can get those two signed, I kept saying, if they get them both signed for under 50 total million, that is feathering the cap for the offseason for Trajan Langdon. If he gets that deal done, whoa. More than likely, it looks like it's probably going to be over 50 collectively. And if it goes into next season, both of them play 65 plus games. Fringe all-star. Don't mess around and make an all-star game because there's a whole bunch of injuries. Like I can totally see Jaden Ivey pulling a Tyrese Maxey type of a season. It's going to get expensive. That's what I foresee for next year for those two. Let me see. See. No, they won't. Monk and Levert will be the most important. Monk? Is he on the team, bro? I know that we're talking about doing the trade with Sacramento. Until I see that thing go through the way you're talking about it, I ain't betting on it. I'm not betting on it. I'm not betting on it. If I'm Sacramento, there's no way I want to let go of Malik Monk. I mean, sure, they've done dumber things, right? Like trading for Zach LaVine. Stupid. Stupid. Should have been starting Keon Ellis and get defensive. Keep your depth with Kevin Herter. Yeah, they've done dumber things. But I doubt they want to let go of Malik Monk. Because when he on, he on. He can close for you. Like he can close playoff games for you. He's that level of scorer. Extremely explosive. But I don't think he's on the team yet, bro. And Karis LeVert, ain't he always injured? And how you gonna take the ball out of Cade and Ivy's hands and put it in LeVert's? You're not. You're not. He's not that level of scorer. He's not. He'll be nice off the bench, but Karis LeVert, probably by the time the playoffs come, he'll probably be our fourth most important guy off the bench. LeVert is a JB guy. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But he's always hurt, so he's not reliable. And he doesn't defend. That's not Detroit basketball. And who's he going to steal minutes from? Ivy would have to play terribly for LeVert to take minutes from him. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And Karis LeVert is how old? Let me just pull this up real quick. Let me just pull this up because I love to be able to pull up stats, back up my thoughts. He's 30 years old, bro. Karis LeVert is 30 years old. You're not banking on him. You're not building around him. You're just not. Played 64 games this past year. Okay. 68 the year before that. Not bad. 74 the year before that. But at 27 years old, he played 58, 35, no, 47, 45, 40. He has a history of getting hurt, plain and simple. And he's 30 years old. He's not stealing minutes from the 22-year-old. That would be absolute front office catastrophe. So there's no way that he's one of our top guys off the bench. Let me see. If we don't get Monk, I know we don't even have Monk. What are you talking about? Um, Let me see. If we don't get Monk, the player, and the sign and trade, that player is going to be significant. I doubt it. I doubt it. I mean, I don't think we're getting Keegan Murray either. That is a hoop dream. That is a dream. If we get like if Sacramento does something stupid, okay, cool. It is what it is. But I'm not betting on that. I'm not betting on that at all. Let me see. I feel like Durant get a shot. I can see it. I can see him with a jump shot. Jalen Durant can also hit a three if he needs to. He can. That ain't his game, but quality player. Facts. Jaden Ivey is worth big facts. Big facts. How do you feel about Trey Lyles at the four? I love him at the four. If we were to go get Trey Lyles, talking about Sacramento. Talking about Sacramento. Talking about the Kings, right? I can completely see, completely, sign and trade. Sacramento gives us Trey Lyles. Mm, maybe somebody else, but I doubt Malik Monk. He's on a team friendly deal, 17, 18, 20, 21 million for the next, what, 3, 4 years? So this year, so 18, 20, 21. It's a great deal for an offensive closer in the playoffs. Man, that would be a cool for us. But you know what? You know what could be happening? Hold on. Let's just say this. If the Detroit Pistons are realizing that Jaden Ivey's like, look, I'm a bet on myself, I think I could get 30, 35 million. They might look at him and say, like, I don't know if we can afford you. Because you're still gonna have to give Asar Thompson 30 plus million next season, next off season. That'll be his extension number. And they might be saying, hey, if we get Malik Monk, he might be the replacement. Explosive offensive player, 27 years old, going on 28. I could see it. Because if Jaden Ivey balls out next year, if he balls out, if he had continued what he did in the first half of the season for the rest of this past season, didn't get hurt, he'd already be looking at 30. He would already be there. So if you could save 10 million and get similar production, I could see it. Keep in mind, Malik Monk runs a crazy pick and roll. Like he's not quite the facilitator of a Dennis Schroeder, but he looks great in the pick and roll. Average over 5 assists a game over the last 2 seasons. He's really coming into his own, man. Bouncy athlete. His three-point shooting leaves some to be desired. He's not as efficient as Ivy, but he has shot it efficiently before. His last year in Charlotte, on 5 attempts, shot 40%, then shot 6 attempts, 39.1% in LA. And then he went to Sacramento and shot 36%, 35%, 32% this past year. But it wasn't for ability. It was just, quality of the offense and all the changes on the team. But he's a really good player. He's a really good player. I'll give you that. But we'll see how this trade pans out. I don't think we're getting Keegan. I wouldn't be mad at Trey Lyles included in that. If we get Miles and Monk, sorry, Lyles and Monk. If we get Trey Lyles and Malik Monk, that could be a signal that yeah, Ivy might be pricing himself out. Especially when you got Ron Holland in the wings. Let me see. Trey, I'm talking about Levert is a JB guy. Yep, you set off the bench. No bench player is going to take a starter role. Facts. Monk is cold, boy. Yeah, he is, man. Yes, he is. That's a closer right there. Then the shooter on crack, bro. On crack. I don't think he's the defender that Schroeder is. I think that's something that Ivy definitely has over Malik Monk. But damn it, you put the ball in his hands in those moments, bro. I ain't worried about a damn thing. I ain't worried about a damn thing. I'll live and die with those shots. Levert and Robinson not sold on those deals. I mean, they can go, but I don't like their defense. But then I said the same about Tim Hardaway Jr. and he impressed me on defense this past season. Tim Hardaway Jr. only impressed because he was playing next to Asar Thompson. Before Asar Thompson, he was trash. He was a cone, but he gave great effort. He was in a contract year. He had to give effort. All that's to say is that Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson, I think that they're going to be fillers on the defensive end, playing next to Ron Holland, Asar Thompson. They'll be sandwiched between other good defenders. They'll be able to give good enough effort. Duncan Robinson is probably the better defender of the two. He's more committed coming out of that Miami Heat pedigree. He's going to be attentive to detail. He'll be locked in, but I don't think he'll be an elite defender, but he'll be solid, which will still be good enough coming off the bench. But like I said, Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart will be our top two bigs or top two bench players coming off the bench. So Robinson's minutes will probably be lesser, but he'll be impactful. But I think if I had to rank our playoff bench in terms of importance, it's going to be Stu and Holland be right there side by side. Then it'll be Duncan Robinson, and then you're looking at Sasser, Levert type of deal, and maybe whoever else is on this roster. But hey, I gotta wrap this up because your boy got some things to handle. Yeah, I got some things to handle. All right, y'all. Um, y'all have a good weekend, man. Y'all have a good weekend. Man, y'all got all these. Man, I always love chopping it up with y'all, man. Kings want Kaminga. The only way they can get him is to get rid of Monk or to get rid of somebody like DeMar DeRozan. Um, and keep in mind, Golden State is going to want a player back as well. If they don't get that player now, they will get him at the trade deadline. We'll see. Trade deadline is going to be probably more where we're most active, making a big deal. Remember, they want to see what they have in this roster. So keep in mind, they're not necessarily trying to bring in someone who's going to take a starter's minutes. The OKC fan listening to the Ivy convos, I think his defense is the most important factor to him being Cade's running mate long term. Facts, Joseph. Great point, brother. Great point. Great point. I've alluded to that many times, but you said it directly. I appreciate it. Vet players will play if they can see the team is going places. Yep, that is very true. D Dubs always with the great points. You never know with Levert and Robinson. Could this be their right fit team? You never know. Well, I think they're a right fit with just about any team because their games translate. Uh, will they be bought in? That speaks to the culture of the team, identity of the team, and success of the team. I think they will be. Championship or bust. How much does your young players want it? As much as OKC's, they got to deliver next year. No excuses. I don't think it's championship or bust. No, I think they have. I said it before. They have the year that OKC had, not this past season, but the year before. That's what I'm anticipating. Close to 50 wins. I think 44 to 46 is reasonable for me. Foresight. They can always outperform and prove it to me. Who knows? They may get to 50 wins. They could get to 50 wins. I would not be shocked because of what they've done before. They already shocked me. I had them at 35 wins. They got to 44. So they might get to 54. You know what I mean? But if I had to bet, I'm saying 44 to 46 wins. Right? It's taking in everything that can happen throughout the course of a season, and the unforeseen variables. Um, but definitely not championship or bust. Remember, their championship window is not next season, but the season, say it with me, after 2 years. Maurice Shaw agree. But how much does Gore and Tellum want to win? They're the guys uh, that back him. They want to win. They want to win. I love Ivy, but it's been said he wants close to 35 mil per year. No way the Pistons can afford that. If he proves he is worth it, I think they'll do it. But he's got to ball out. He's got to ball out. He has to ball out. And I think he'll get it. But they're not going to give him that this season. They're not going to give him 35 based on what he did last year. That's purely on potential. That's a bad deal. That's not a smart deal. If he wants that and he says, I'm a bet on myself, bet. Let's go in the next season and let's see. Put up or shut up, right? But I think the 20, between 20 and 25 stays on the table. Sign at any time. I love Ivy. Oh, you already said that. Let me see. Left my. Yeah, I know I got to get out of here, man. Shorty, both of them text me back. Yeah, okay, I gotta answer these. All right. My hot take, Doug. Yep, championship. We got players worth big bucks. Be tough, keep them all, but they still gotta perform to earn it. We're gonna be in an OKC type of situation in 2 years. Where we're like, man, can they afford to bring everyone back? Let's see, and we'll see. But with that, y'all have a great weekend. Be safe out there. I'm gonna be safe. I'm gonna get y'all next time. Peace.